Hello and welcome to another episode of the ITV podcast series of IIT Cutting Edge 2026, where we bring people from leaders, people, entrepreneurs from different industries, and where they share their success stories with us. And today on our podcast, we have another very special person joining with us. So, he is the founder of Enable, and he has spent decades helping organizations navigate technological transformation while building successful businesses all across the region. And most importantly, I would say he's not just a technological person, he's someone who gives life to tech, right? He's someone who is able to communicate his ideas, do storytelling, inspire people. And he is none other than our very own Mr. Peter De Almeida. How are you doing?
I'm very well, Venuti. Thank you, and thank you for that lovely introduction. Thank you very much.
Right. So, my very first question to you.
Yes.
Why did you become a storyteller?
More than why, probably how.
How?
Because why is also important. Good question. I have not thought about it like that. Thing is, you see, when I was growing up, we had very little. We had very little distraction. We had no TV. We had no phones, not even a land phone. And I come from a very large family. 11 children. My father died when I was 4. So we grew up, there was no income.
Right.
And there were 15 people in the house, including the 10 children. My sister had married and gone. And there were 10 children, my mother 11, my grandmother 12, and 2 of my cousins also my father had brought to live with us because their father had abandoned them. So we grew up in a large family. So the only thing we had was to talk to each other and stories. So I suppose without all that distraction, today a family of 11, they're all on their phones, right?
Yes, yeah.
So there we got together. So we probably automatically, there was a lot of storytelling going on. And 10 children, they all have their own different stories when they come after school or what. I must have been quietly listening in on these things. So as a result, I think I must have developed a sense of listening to other people's stories. And I don't know that. I'm just imagining that's what would happen. However, when I started going to school in grade 1 and 2, I remember when I was in grade 2, we have an interval, a long interval. It was a lunch interval because school starts at 8:30 and goes on till 3:30. So we have an hour of lunch. So what do we do? So then I remember I used to craft a game based on a movie called Hatari, old film. You all must try and catch it on YouTube, where they go and catch animals to take them to zoos. And there's a rhinoceros that has to be caught with a lasso. So I recreated that story in the interval, where 4 boys work as the jeep. I am the lead character, and there's a rhinoceros, one of my friends who said, a chubby fellow. And we used to maneuver this whole. So I was thinking, maybe that I got interested in creating a story, a scene, activity. So I don't know where that came from, but I know it was a very early start in my life.
You.
It was kind of in me. And also, I suppose because I had very little to do and my parents never my father had died. My mother that time had no time for the parent-teachers meeting. We didn't have parent-teachers meeting. So I grew up very free. My father was a conservative Catholic. He had died. In a sense, if he was there, I may not be talking to you today because he would have controlled my mind with all the teachings, the dogma, and said, don't question these things. If I asked him, how was the world created? He would have said in 7 days, because that's what the Bible says. And I would have said, no, Dad, that can't be all the cosmos, the universe, the black holes. He would have said, now shut up. Don't try to be too smart. Panditya Vendipa, as they say in Sinhalese. And he would have said, so I think because I was growing up so freely with no interference, with nobody messing with my head, I think I was free to imagine. So I think my storytelling comes from imagination first. So I think that's how I think. I don't know, man. I'm just, thinking that this is how there's no science behind it, right? So probably, Benuri, to your question, with a sense of imagination, to be left alone, nothing much to distract me from, didn't have so many things to work with, no expensive toys. So all I had was my imagination. And fortunately, I was able to convert that into creative ideas and rope in, to get my friends to come along with me, right? They'll say,
Yes,
Peter, this is a
definitely,
stupid
yeah.
game you're playing. So I suppose I was able to convince them, dude, this is a good game to play. And so I think that's where it comes from originally. And then as we went along, I must have developed a skill. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
I'm
So
sorry I took too long.
no, that's okay. No worries. All right. Okay. So what was the very first spark, the very first ignition that interested, that made you fall in love with tech and entrepreneurship?
Interesting. You see, the thing is, even when I was working, I started work at the State Bank of India. I was a clerk, bank
Right.
clerk. Even there, I never looked at my work as a job. I had some superiors, but I wanted to learn what the hell was going on. That comes from my deep sense of curiosity, I think. I was always curious as a child. So, imagination and curiosity, I think, are the combination that got me where I am. When I was growing up, I knew nothing about technology. There was not even the term IT was not even invented. It may have been there, at least we didn't know about it. Computers, never heard of. So even when I was working as a clerk, I was curious about what was going on. So I didn't show up at work and do it and go. I was thinking, what's going on behind? So I think there was a sense of an entrepreneurial spirit of wanting to know with curiosity and without just doing my job. So then I never expected to get into IT because I was working in the bank, I was in the bank union, I was doing a lot of trade union activity. But because of the bank union, I lost some confidence in them because it's a long story, but I got disillusioned. And my friend had started a computer company called East West Information Systems.
Right.
That was the first personal computer distributor for IBM. I'm talking about 1986, I think.
Okay.
So early days of personal computing. So he had started. He was a very bright guy. Sadly, he passed away. Ajit Iyer is his name. Lots of people in IT would have known him from that time. Brilliant guy. And he had started this company, wanted me to join him. But I was involved with my trade union work and banking, right? But when I got disillusioned, I thought I'll join him. Now remember, I knew nothing about computers. Zero. So I had to become the sales manager. And now there are already people who think they know. So very quickly I had to learn it. And no internet. So IBM was conducting some programs and all that. So I wanted to be ahead of, because for me to lead a team, I need to be good at the game, right?
Yes.
So that's how it was a chance happening. I had not planned it. But of course, as I said, I had that entrepreneurial spirit, which I brought to that. So I learned this I don't have a degree in IT, unlike you guys who are pursuing degrees, and good for you. So it was a chance happening, Venuri. And then, of course, once I got in there, it was like there was no stopping because the world was changing so rapidly. Information technology, computing was changing so fast that, I just got pulled into it.
Right. Fate.
Kind of chance and luck also, because if
Yes,
my friend didn't, lots of people, that's the other thing I quickly want to make this point about entrepreneurship and success and all that. A lot of people think, it's about me, I was so great, I was so good, and when they tell their story, they say, what a marvelous guy I was. But you know what? Chance and luck. People in fact, there's a book called Success, I think, about how much chance and luck. Now, for example, if my friend hadn't started the IT company,
Yeah.
if I didn't get disillusioned with the union, I would not be here.
Yeah, definitely.
I would have been a banker, boring bloody job. So, you see, so it's all, there are other people much better than me who just didn't get that break. I'm not such a great guy. But it just so happened that everything came together. And I decided, he had been asking me for more than a year to join him. I said no. But when this happened, I just jumped in and, the rest is how my
He
life
saw the
progressed.
potential in you.
He always knew me because in fact I helped him to write the business proposal. Helped him to write it. I mean, we were childhood friends, so he knew me. He knew me well enough. He trusted me. But yeah, early days of IBM computing, personal computing. So there also we had to tell stories.
Definitely. Right. Okay, so looking back now,
Yeah.
was that a defining moment where you realized you wanted to build something of your own rather than simply work with existing organizations?
Yes, in the sense that because it my friend and East West, of course, there was the
Yeah.
East West company owned Nahil Vijayasuri and Lester Wyman. They owned stake, but my friend ran it as a company. So even though I worked there, I ran it like my company. That's how I told you, that's what I always do. I do not go there and expect my manager to tell me what to do. I just go there and just, run the show. Because I've given, not to take over,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I've given that space. So already I was thinking that I'm running my own organization. I never thought of it as work. So, and I had the freedom, of course. So
Definitely.
even at that point, it was entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurial does not mean, Venuri, that you have to own the business. It's a
Yes.
mindset. It's a mindset. It is about looking for opportunities, and to be able to grab those and look for opportunities that no one else has seen. So I could see, for example, that personal computers are going to be used in companies, not at their homes. Because companies at that time, because you're all in IT, were using dumb terminals. Those terminals were, green screen terminals. They had no intelligence. So they're connected to the mainframe of the mini computer and they run. So banks and big companies, Ports Authority, all of the insurance and all that, they ran with dumb terminals, data entry, and it shows you something. Reports are printed in the back
Yes.
end. I saw the potential of PCs replacing dumb terminals. Not that I discovered it, that was there, but I saw that and in fact, I was telling IBM, we used to fight with them and say, let's put the computer, the intelligent computers, as front end for banks and stuff like that. It took a while because there are no applications available. Even before the application, we saw the potential. Meanwhile, the apps were coming. So we kind of, in a sense, revolutionized. Uh, we evangelized it. We didn't wait for it to happen. We said, this is the future, guys, and push them to adopt it. So, yeah. So it was, in that sense, to answer your question, I was already running my own, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, as you know,
Yeah.
the main audience of this particular podcast is basically school children, undergrads, and then first time founders, right? So, with what you have learned throughout these years,
Right.
what's that one big lesson, one big advice you can give them?
Okay, so if there are young people listening to this and are thinking of being entrepreneurs in the sense, start a company, I would first say you must develop, like I said, that mindset. You can't just rock up and start a company. You can, but I don't think you will succeed. There are a lot of startups, right?
Yes.
And only very few scale and become successful. I think maybe 2%, and somewhere very small percentage of startups actually become big companies. So first thing is for you to have that entrepreneurial mindset, and that the essence of that, Venuri, is curiosity. You have to be curious to find out what's going on. I don't think our school system encourages
Exactly.
curiosity.
Yeah.
I think you have wanted to discuss this later. I saw your questions earlier, but I think that's where it begins. So when they kill our students' curiosity, and they said Pandita Andapa, because if you're curious, you'll ask questions.
Yeah.
Parents and teachers say Pandita Prashna Andapa.
Yes.
And so then suddenly you become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So whoever has become entrepreneurs have become entrepreneurs despite the school system. They are somehow escaped from it, like me. So first thing is, you have to break out of this thing about,
The Matrix.
yeah, in the sense, somebody else is determining your life, right? And they're not letting you flourish. No, no, no. Everything is decided for you. In fact, your career is chosen for you. Parents put so much pressure. And academic results, just marks in school.
Yeah.
Good thing, there are some people who naturally do it. That alone won't ensure that you are going to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Or entrepreneur mindset. කටපාඩම් කරලා උත්තර
Yeah.
ලියන්න පුළුවන්. You can memorize and answer questions, no? So it's only testing your memory. But in the hierarchy, next is understanding, applying what you learned, those are what are skills needed. But to answer your question, the schools don't create that environment for you to develop an entrepreneurial mind. So we can develop this point later, but the main thing I would say at this point is curiosity. Are you curious? Or you just take somebody else's answer and say, that's fine, I'm satisfied. So essential ingredient, curiosity.
Curiosity.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. Next one. Now, so technology it's often associated with coding, systems, and technical expertise, right? But in today's discussion, our hot topic is storytelling. So, for someone who's building software or if they are launching their startup, why should storytelling matter? I think you answered this question before as well, but once again, could you add more to it?
Yes, sure. Now the thing is this. Firstly, my second not advice, thoughts I want to share is if you're starting a business, entrepreneurial, whatever, what is the problem you're solving? Must have absolute clarity. So when I learned marketing, there was a very fine lecturer. He passed away.
So you learned marketing as well?
I studied marketing.
Oh, right.
For my CIM, Chartered Institute of Marketing. There's a very fine teacher. He passed away sadly. Udit Lienage. He's a very fine man. He was a lecturer at the Javadharpura MBA
Right.
program. Yes. So he said, people buy only two things. I don't know whether he made it himself or whether he was quoting someone else. He said, whatever in the world you buy only two things: solutions to problems and good feelings. Right? Now,
True.
you are wearing a lovely pair of sandals. Now, you didn't buy it because if you can buy any, you can buy Bata slippers if you want to protect your feet, right? But that gives you a good feeling,
Yes.
right? Or if you buy a pen, you can buy a normal ballpoint. But some people have Mont Blanc and they put a little thing on top and they
Yes.
put it in their pockets. Everybody knows also it's a Mont Blanc. So good feelings. So if you're building a solution, what are you fixing? Are you having a solution to a problem? Or are you creating a product that's already there, but you're creating a good feeling around it? People don't get this. So they build a product just for the sake of it. But is there a real problem you're solving? Or is it a product that's going to create an extraordinary experience? Right? So it's the experience that you have to sell.
Right, because then a product, the experience is going to be in the hearts of the people.
Yeah. So experience is not technical.
Yes.
So experience can only be sold, even a solution to a problem can only be sold by a story. So let me tell you a story about that. Apart from my own experience, let me take a common example of, now when Steve Jobs developed the iPod, he had an idea of the problem he was solving before he even came up with a name. The problem, he said, was the solution that you were presenting was 1,000 songs in your pocket. Later on, only after that, so they were making something so that you could carry 1,000 songs in your pocket. Unheard of. People having that, the Walkman and all that, cassettes and all that, bulky, cumbersome. So this sort of made a tiny thing. The name came later. So when he presented it, I was talking about, story. We at Apple, we love music and we love to listen to songs wherever we go. And sometimes we wish we had 1,000 songs in our pocket. And that's exactly what we have built. It takes this iPod and says, 1,000 songs in your pocket. So he didn't talk about the file system, the hardware, the miniaturization, nothing. So that was the story. So a lot of people, technical, you see there are two sides to this. One is a technical push where you sell the technology, and the other is a marketing pull. So they were working on market pull, not the technology features and all that. So that's a classic example of storytelling without selling the underlying technology. How did we build this and all that? Even with the iPhone, that all the technology was available. He was not the first. MP3 was already available. So they put it together. And even when he introduced the iPhone, he says, before the iPhone presentation, he says, we are launching 3 products. And he said the first product is an iPod with a touch control. But the old iPod didn't have touch control. Secondly, we are introducing a revolutionary phone, another product. The third product is an excellent internet communication device. And he keeps on saying, we are introducing three products. Then he suddenly says, I hope you're getting it.
Yes, definitely.
It's one, no, he's saying.
Oh.
He's saying, I hope you're getting it. He's telling the audience, I hope you're getting it. I hope you're getting it. And he says, it's one product. It's the iPhone. Now, he could have spoken about what a lot it took to create that phone and the computing inside it. No. So, amazing. So, it's about selling that experience and not the underlying technology.
The sentimental experience.
And also the story, how you set it up, and then creates an excitement. You could have said, we made a smartphone, an excellent smartphone. But when you break it like that and you create a story and presenting it also, he says, he creates a villain, no? He says what's available in the market, that's, smartphones are great, but they're hard to use. The other phones are easy to use, but they're not smart. And then he presents this. So it's all magic. But a lot of competitors had all the features. He was not the first. But he put it together so beautifully,
Right. Okay. So the next question, that's, you already covered it from one of your answers. So we'll move on to the other one. Okay. So this is more into investing and, fundraising and all that. Okay. Right. So one challenge that almost each and every startup is facing is the fundraising challenge, finding capital for it. So a lot of founders walk into investor meetings excited to discuss features, architecture, and technical achievements. So what do investors actually want to hear from these people?
Right.
What's your take on it?
Right. Now, you see, the investors want to see value, right? Because they're investing today. The early investors are not looking to stay with the company forever. The early investors, okay? So the people who come, what they call the early, the ones who immediately come. These guys are investing money so that at a future date, they can sell this company to some other buyer, the second round investors, and they get massive valuation. So they're looking to see what is the value of this company, what is the potential value. Now I'll tell you a very interesting story about how stories change the value. Everything else remains the same. The story changes the value. The classic example is Uber. Aswath Damodaran, there's a very famous guy. Anyway, people who are doing entrepreneurship, I'll go and listen to his podcast. Aswath Damodaran, professor of, I think, Tuck Business School, I think. I'm sure. Anyway, you can find it in New York. He's one of the greatest valuers in the world, valuation experts in the world. Everybody listens to Aswath Damodaran. He's like God of valuation. So when Uber came out, he valued Uber. Now before that, the story is that when he saw his son was in university in some other state, in Chicago, I think, and he was using father's credit card. And the father saw Uber. He thought, what the hell is this Uber? And Uber has the two dots at the top, the German Uber. So he thought, that's umlaut. He thought, what the hell is this? So he called him, he didn't answer. So he called his daughter, boy's sister. And he said, what is this? Your brother is using Uber with my card. What the hell is it? She said, I'm too busy, go look for it. So he searched. And he found that, he said, okay, I'll call Uber. And he went on a ride with Uber. And then he realized that the company does not own the cars. So then he thought, great. And then he looked into it and he thought, I'll do a valuation of Uber. And he valued Uber at $6 billion. Because the story he thought was, it's a ride-share company, it's a car service company, it's located in a particular city. It's regional. So it has regional network, it's a car company, $6 billion. He did all that, of course, he did some numbers and all that, 6 billion. A famous, I think either the owner of the company, the founder, or one of the top investors, I think it was one of the top investors in the company, called him and said, you have done a ridiculous valuation of Uber. He said, why do you say that? He said, and then he had a conversation. Then the investor said, Uber is not a rideshare company, dude. It's a global logistics company. It's going to change logistics worldwide. You can have an Uber app and you can use it anywhere in the world. Only the story changed. Nothing else changed. You know how much he revalued it at? But he was humble enough to say I was wrong. He revalued it at $53 billion. Just the story. He didn't understand the underlying technology or anything like that. So if somebody had told him that story, you know what? Go to the investor and say, we are not a ride-share company. You have no idea what we are going to do with. We are going to be a global logistics company. That's all they want to hear. Of course, they want to then know the team and your app and all that. Same with Google. These two guys went, Larry Page and Brin, the two founders, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, went to one of the top investors. He had invested in Intel, John Doerr, famous guy. And they were the 17th company to enter the search market. Yahoo and all were the big search companies. Long before your time, Venuri.
Yes.
You are very young. So, 17th what are the chances of the 17th company becoming successful in technology?
0.
Very little.
Very little, yeah.
But they told her, you have no idea what you're going to do with search. And then they realized it's going to be advertising. Not just search. We're going to build it so well. So, massive valuation. So he put $12 million for a 12% stake or something, and he became a billionaire with that investment. So it's a story. He didn't talk about, of course, later on they would have spoken about the algorithms and all that. So to my point, the story itself can change the valuation. So what tech company entrepreneurs are doing, they don't know what the problem you're solving. Are you creating a good feeling with this technology? They are selling the features. Now the investor doesn't understand the features, no? So he can't see how is this translating in the real world. That is the problem. There are some great technologies, but the story is weak. Even good companies, even Google, I just mentioned they were great, but Google Glass failed, no? Am I correct?
Yes.
Total failure. Because they didn't know what was the problem we were really solving, what was the experience we were going to create. They didn't understand the customer is not going to take this. Great technology, great successful company. This particular product failed, it didn't have a great story, it didn't meet the experience expected of the market, the customers. So, I have learned this in my own life also, because when we were selling this thing called virtualization, where it was a technology that was already in the market, but people were selling it as a technology, no take up. At that time, Enable, my company, we had started on a big project with a telecom company. We founded it hoping to win that project. That project disappeared. So we had nothing. 12 people have come, I've started the company, and suddenly our business plan is gone. Then we found this little technology called virtualization. It was already in the market, but there was no story behind it. I went to Singapore and met one of the guys who works for this company called VMware, and I told him, tell me the story. I don't get it. He was a smart guy. He wrote the story on a small whiteboard. Within 10 minutes, I got it. I came back, Benuri. I met 30 CEOs, not IT heads. And I told them, here's what virtualization can do. Basically, what it does, since there are technical people in the audience. You see, a computer can only run one app.
Yeah.
That's the Intel architecture. It is the Intel, Microsoft. It can run, very powerful, can run one app. As computers became more and more powerful, we found that only 10% of the capacity of the computer is being used. So what does virtualization do? It creates virtual computers inside this machine. So it can use its full power.
Yes.
So with virtualization, we could reduce 300 computers to 30. Massive savings in cost, power and energy and all sorts of other facilities. Now I had to sell that idea to the CEO. So I went, all it takes is 8 minutes. I ask for a piece of paper and I draw pictures, just pictures. Here is what happens, this is what goes on. And midway they say, we get it. Now we'll bring the IT team in. So with $50,000 business, we took it to $1 million, Venuri, in 2 years. All we did was tell a story. What can this do to you? Other fellows were selling the technology. And we said, no, it reduces 300 machines to 30. Think about it.
Yeah.
In the first company we deployed, 100 machines came down to 2. So he doesn't want to know what's behind it, and the blade, and this and that, and hypervisor. This is what he can do to you, Mr. Customer. Would like to reduce 300 machines to 30? Sure I do. So, yeah.
So as far as I know, Enable, you are involved in selling very deep, very high-end tech, right?
Yes, yes.
So how is storytelling work? What is the context with regards to storytelling in that particular area?
That's a great question, really, because people think that when you're selling deep technology, surely storytelling might not work there. But let me give you an example to make the point. Now, at just before you started Enable, I was at a company called Millennium. I was
Yes.
running that a part of that business. So we were not selling telecom solutions. Okay, we were only selling IT solutions to telecom companies. We were not selling that telecom infrastructure because that was done by the big boys at that time. Huawei was not heard of. It was AT&T, Ericsson, and companies like that. They are the ones who are laying the network. I went for a conference in San Francisco. I'd just come back to Millennium. And there was a guy called John Chambers who was the CEO of Cisco, famous networking company,
Yes.
right? He was talking about the future. And he said the future is in converged network, meaning one network. Those days, telecom companies were building a separate network for voice, separate network for video, separate network for data. 3 different networks all across the country they had to build. Video hadn't come in, so they were building networks for voice and data. So when I heard this, now that's where curiosity becomes. So many people from Sri Lanka went for that. I'm not trying to make a big boast about myself, but what I'm saying is, like I said, curious. So I picked up on this. I said, this will change telecom. And this was not even a telecom conference. It was an enterprise IT conference. But I could see the application, obviously, in telecom.
Yeah.
So I came back and I told Cisco, is there a storyteller that who can tell this story? And they had a guy. He was not willing to come because that time there was a war, in Sri Lanka, and he had a Tamil name, Kumaran Singaram. He thought by the time he come from the airport to the hotel, he'd get killed. So I called him. That's the thing. I don't let go. I called him and said, dude, come over. It's a very safe place. He said, sure, man. And we went to Sri Lanka Telecom. There was a Japanese were running it, the Japanese head. All he did was tell him a story. Not a word about the technology. He said, look, this is what we are building. We're building one network to carry your voice, video, and data. And then look at all the services you can run on that. One of the services was voice over IP, which you all take for granted now.
Yeah.
Those days, Venuri, we had to go to the telecom department, give my number to the operator, to a person there, talk to my brothers who on ships. And we don't have enough money for only 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So we say 3 minutes. So they'll dial the call and put it to us. There are small booths. And they say, Almeida, make it under booth number 3. I had to go there, start talking to my brother. Call gets cut after 3 minutes. That's the end of story. So they were charging 125 rupees per minute for a foreign overseas call. Now this was going to disrupt them, voice over IP, take away that business. But it was going to increase the base, right? Anyway, I'm digressing. Point is, we were selling the benefits of the technology. So we said you can have voice over IP now. Of course, it'll disrupt your business, but overall, millions will be using it. So you'll make more money. Secondly, what we call VPNs.
Yeah.
Those days, banks were connecting their own network from their headquarters to all the branches, hub and spoke network. We said VPNs. All the banks will be coming to you, one by one. And he had a lovely slide. Each time he spoke about a service, there was a cash register. A cash register, the old cash registers.
Yes.
So that's all. And we revolutionized the telecom industry in Sri Lanka. Every telco, personally I was involved. I used to go and tell this story now. That's all. Technology came later. Then the engineers will come and look at it. But that's not what sold the solution. Can you imagine? Such a deep, with not a word. I didn't know underlying technology. Later on, I learned about the MPLS and multi-packet label switching and all those things. I learned it. But that was not important. It's going to revolution. And then Millennium became, from an IT company, we became a telecom service provider company. We were now up against the big boys, all through storytelling. The underlying technology was there. So It works, Venuri. It works even, especially at that level. Because you
Right.
are not selling, you're selling it to the CEO. Then you go to of course, then you go to the engineers. And the engineers will then ask the technology and how it works and traffic engineering and all that. That's a different matter. But your foot through the door is not the technology. If I kept talking to the IT guys, they would never have got it. They'll say, "Bo Mahoday, Bo Mahoday," they'll be asking me about technology and increasing his knowledge and improving his engineering skill. He's not going to make the decision for Sri Lanka Telecom or Suntel or Dialog to go for this, to spend millions and go for this. You see?
Right. Okay. So, my next question to you. For a young founder preparing their very first pitch, what should the story look like? So, there's four. Would it be the problem, the people who are affected, the solution, the impact? Or is there another framework that you personally recommend?
So I think the first 4 points encapsulates the essence. Investors want to know, is there a big enough market? Point number one. Which means, whom are you going to sell this to? What is your market? So that means you have to say, I'm solving this problem, nobody has solved this. Or there is a solution, there are 15 solutions to this problem. I'm going to make it extraordinary. Right? That is called differentiation.
Yes.
That is, lots of people don't understand this. They know that they're addressing a market. They are quite clear about it. They know I'm solution. This is a solution. Say, for example, let's say standard thing most people are web application. Or AI gonna or everybody will do AI. Everybody will say, I'm an AI, I'm an AI, I'm an AI. People don't buy that stuff anymore. What about AI? So coming to our problem. So you have a very good idea about the problem you're solving. Or you're going to say, I'm creating a new experience. But if there are 15 other people doing it, he's not going to invest in you. That's when he wants to know, what is your differentiation? That is when Google convinced John Doerr, you have no idea what we are going to do with search. If you say that to an investor, he gets the bloody shock of his life. Tell me more about it. Then he will explain. So differentiation is key when you go and pitch to an investor. I'm different. And if you're extraordinary differentiation, if you're the only person, then you get extraordinary value for the company. But even limited differentiation, people will put money into your business. So, firstly, to answer your question very precisely, first, I know what I'm solving. There is a market for this. Either I'm solving a problem, or like I said earlier, I'm creating an extraordinary experience. For example, today banks use mobile apps. Very poor experience, as far as I'm concerned. Extremely poor. And the banks make millions, billions. Because the CEO is not interested.
Yeah.
Because they're making money, because they have the huge interest rate spread. So, sometimes it'll be difficult for a company. But if we can go and tell them, you know what, I'm going to revolutionize your mobile application. There are other companies now, there are other banks. My God, man, in England, I met a friend yesterday. He spoke to me about his application, his banking experience, and my other relative in Singapore, in Australia, Commonwealth Bank. God, we are 10 years behind. So there are enough room for those listening to this program to go and change application, consumer application, every one of them. Take telecom, I don't want to mention names, embarrassing. Both the telecom big operators, very poor experience, very poor. So if I can go and if the bank CEO is interested, because they are so busy, they are so easy making money, because they have this big interest rate spread, lending rate and borrowing rate. So they'll just make money anyway. So if they are not interested. But if you can go and tell them, you know what, I'm going to revolutionize the app. Differentiation. That's key. So now even with that, sometimes the market is not ready. For example, when we had this product, we were ahead of a curve at Enable. About 10 years ago, Venuri, we had predictive analytics.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to caution, don't be discouraged. I want to caution your listeners. You see, we had a great product. We are ahead of the curve. So there was a garment apparel industry company that had a problem. Problem was, suddenly after 7 years, people leave. Now what to do? Can you predict who will leave? So we did the algorithm, which would, and we said, here are names of 47 people who will leave in the next 6 months. 43 left Venuri. 43 left. Now this is the sad part. Now that's the great part. The sad part is, we now took this to the banks. Not to, now see, this is where the application there was people leaving. Now you have to have the imagination to use it differently. We're to the banks. Banks have credit cards.
Yeah.
Now some banks, at that time, one bank had 6 million customers, only 150,000 credit and debit cards. So what do? They outsource this to an outside company and they call you. They are not bank employees. They are outside company. They give the list of names. Sometimes the name is not updated. So they'll call and say, and they don't know the language you speak. They'll talk to you in Sinhalese. They'll say, platinum card එකක් ගන්නවා. Sometimes the fellow get bloody while he, they get annoyed, irritated. That's the business model. We went to the banks and said, if you use our product, we can, with 76% accuracy, we can tell you who are the most likely people to buy a card. Not a single bank adopted it. They're still relying on this company cold calling, කුණුහරුපෙන් බනිනවා. යකෝ උඹ මේ රටද මට ගන්නෙ and all that. And you see?
Yeah.
Great. So it's pity. So maybe I could have done something differently. I don't know. Maybe we could have. But it was a very compelling story. But the banks were not ready because they were not interested because they were already making money.
They were not ready for the change.
They were not ready. And also, more than ready, they will make money anyway. You know, that's a sad thing. And the people have no option. But if some other bank can come and disrupt that and take products like this, and credit card also, we went on to say, you can give me a product, credit card promotion, that is relevant to me. Today I get promotions from supermarkets for products I would never buy. I would not touch that product. They don't know me. But they know my product. They know my behavior. They know what I buy, what quantity I buy, where I buy, what time I buy, what is the combination of products I buy. So there is a huge scope to disrupt.
Yeah.
But they are not interested. So sometimes you might have a great product, but the market is not
Willing to adopt.
hungry enough. So you have to go find another market, which is probably what we didn't do. Because of course, it's another long story, that's for another discussion.
Yeah.
But to your question specifically, yes, the solution, the problem you're solving, most important, the differentiation. Those are two key elements. Since you said there are other points, I would also like to add, having known, so the investor now knows that you have a great problem that you're solving, and you're going to solve it differentiated from everyone else or from most people. He knows that. Now, he has to know that you have a good idea about this. So the founder's vision, the founder must go and say, like what Google said, you have no idea what you're, he has to have that fire in him and say, this is what we are building, that excitement. Thirdly, the team. He say, you're a great founder. Where is your team? Who is going to build this bloody thing for you? That's when we started Enable 12. I got the 12 of the best people. New startup, no? And I've come from Millennium. All these big boys are there. Who there? Of course, they knew me. I had a track record, but not good enough. Not good enough. I had the backing of Hemas as a company. So I had to get Hemas to invest in me. And Hemas is not even, they don't have an IT business at all. How did I convince them? One of the things was my team. I said, I'm going to assemble probably one of the best IT teams you'll find in this country. And I did. I had to tell them a story, Why would they leave IBM and HP and top guys, Millennium? How did the best guys come and meet me? So I had to, in both ways. I tell Hemas that I'm going to build a team. I tell the team I've got the backing of Hemas. All run parallel. They come and I think. But I have to be sure then the investor has to believe. And the team has to believe your story. They believed my story. That we are going to enable technology to do better business. We are not selling technology to IT departments. We are going to sell technology to the heads. And our slogan was, do better business. So, that's the story. So, story for the investor. Investor needs to know that you have a team, so you have a story for the team. And then he will say, let's go for it. But unless the founder can carry that and convey it,
It's
you
not
won't
an easy
succeed.
task.
Yeah.
Right. Anything more to add?
No, I think we are good.
Okay. Now let's move on to the next interesting segment of our podcast today, the rapid fire segment. Are you ready?
Not at all. It is something I'm very bad at. I take a while to process. I don't think so quickly on my feet, but let's have
You
some
can
fun.
do it.
No,
Okay.
don't worry, it's
So
okay.
the very first question.
Yes.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
That was fast. Morning person or night owl?
More night. Yeah.
Most overrated business buzzword?
Today it's AI. Yes.
One leadership skill everyone needs.
Humility.
Could you give an example of that, of humility?
To be humble. So that because you see, just because you're a leader, doesn't your leader? Most leaders function on the basis that you take orders. I know it all, but to say, I can also fail. I can give you a longer explanation, a quick example. You can
Yes.
use it if you want to, or you
Yeah.
can edit it. Now, talking about, you asked for an example of
Yes, yeah,
humility in leadership. For example, now when I was at Enable, we had a young guy who joined us, a very smart guy. He had won the Microsoft Image Cup and all of that, and he came. So I had invited one of my classmates to come and help us with the project, a data center, SLT data center project. He's a top director technical. He came over to help us. Free. He walked from World Trade Center to my office in Chatham Street, in Fort,
Yeah.
sat there, helped us. He wanted some information. So I asked the young boy, don't now send this information. So a day later, I asked him, so and so, I don't want to mention his name, did you send this information? He said, I'm sorry, I forgot. I said, okay, send it tomorrow. Next day I asked him, Peter, third day, when he said it, I lost it. I said, what the hell, man? And don't think, and I completely lost it. Don't think that just because you're university and you're one day Microsoft that you are a big guy, all that was shouted at him.
Yeah.
As I went back to my room, I realized, Peter, that was wrong.
Yes.
You must have that self-criticism. That didn't go too well, did it? I mean, after all, he's a young guy. I could apologize to him. But when I shouted at him, there are a bunch of other people, because we have an open office. So I thought when I apologized to him, I had to apologize so that others also will be there. So we have a town hall meeting. Every quarter we have a meeting. At that meeting, I told this story. And I said, you know what, this is what happened, and I want to apologize to this young man. But since I shouted at him in front of others, I thought I should make the apology public. And I apologized to him. But this fellow didn't apologize back to me. Then after that, I said, Ado, umba nikan loku miniya wage. I talked to them like, umba nikan loku miniya wage, umba gatta eka. But again, sorry kiyala, mama karapu adiyata. I told them that what he did was wrong, but I don't think I need to shout him. That is humility. Because then people know, I say. That's real leadership. You can say, I'm sorry. I didn't handle that well. That sets a nice culture in the organization. Right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So
Yes, okay. AI tool you use the most?
me,
Yes.
by name,
Yes.
now it's Claude.
Okay.
For my work, I find that.
Back then?
I started with ChatGPT till I found out, believe it or not, when I asked ChatGPT for some question I had, and it said something about religious Catholic. It said the current Pope is not Pope Francis, not Pope Leo. I said, you must be kidding me. ChatGPT paid version.
Oh.
Paid version. Again, it's pushing back. I said, you must be kidding me. It's Pope Leo. No, there's no Pope Leo the 14th. It's still Pope. So I cancelled my subscription also.
And move to Claude.
Yeah, so Cloud, yeah.
Right, okay. Remote or office?
Definitely office. My gosh.
Biggest productivity killer?
Procrastination, I think.
Will Cumbio 2 be coming?
It's in my iPad. The script is there. I don't think it'll come because I think Lakmal is now become a movie maker. So sadly, I don't think you might see Cumbio 2.
I wanted to act there.
You could have got your role.
I was going to ask.
You could have got your role. Yes.
Yes. Never mind. One word that defines leadership.
I've already said it. Humility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Success means.
Serving.
Right. Okay. And with that, we have come to the end of the rapid fire section. We'll move on to the core part of our podcast now. Right.
I mean, there's more.
Just two more. This is very interesting. There's a common perception that politics is slowing down progress while entrepreneurs are driving the progress. They fasten the progress. Having observed both these two worlds, where do you think that perception gets it right and where does it get wrong?
It's the thing is they are both interconnected. Politicians are working hand in hand with business to, for their own benefit. That's what Cumbio spoke about. The hand of the underworld, the politician, all of that. See, politics, if you take politics as party politics, that is parliamentary politics, that's one type of politics. That's what politics that a lot of young people know. They think politics means paksha, political parties, and chandadane.
Yeah.
That is not politics. Politics is about power. And there's politics, that's what they say, there's sexual politics. There's ecological politics. Politics is about power, those who have power and those who don't have power. So if you look at the broader context of politics and look at what is needed for the betterment of the people, then I don't think enterprises are doing a great job at all. Because they are driven, most of them, the vast majority of them are driven by profits and profits alone. And they will make the profits come even if they have to drop the living standards of their own employees. I worked in trade unions, Venuri. It's sad. There is a woman who worked in a particular company, 19 years, single mother, husband had left her, 2 children. She has worked for 19 years. She works 40 hours overtime. She gets 59,000 rupees salary. How can she live with that? So even today, sadly, I think, although there's a new government and all of that, I don't know whether you want to use this in your segment, but the thing is, the enterprises, the businesses get at the politicians. Whoever comes to power, they can all say, we are great, we're going to change the country, system change. No. The same people will get at them.
Yeah.
And slowly they will. So to answer your question specifically, I don't think the entrepreneurs of today, I mean, if you take the large companies and all of that, they're not that social. They have CSR. But they do CSR for others, but they are not doing CSR for their own employees. Yeah. Look at COVID. I mean, soon after the crisis, financial crisis, what happened? They sacked their employees. How many people were laid out? How can you do that? My mother didn't send my 2 relations out of the house when my father died. 14 people in the house, no income. She could have said, look, you all have come from outside. You all are out. I'll put you all in an orphanage. No. So we don't have that kind of social consciousness. That's why I hope the younger people who are trying to become entrepreneurs think of social consciousness. My team, my staff first, the people around us. How much money do you need to be successful, to lead a good life? You can accumulate wealth and for what? For what?
Just to die.
Yeah. So, and talking about, since you're talking about now, take banks. They make super profits. It's coming at the cost of someone. No? People can't get money to start a business. The rates, because we have low interest rates.
Yeah.
But the banks are not doing that. Do you think the banks are acting in the interest of the people? And the politicians are not doing anything about it. So, they're both interconnected. It's not this is better than that. They're both so closely working hand in glove that it's not going to be great for the... Today, the real wages, not the rupee wages of the people are before 2019. And we have a crisis.
Yeah.
Oil, that won't go away. Barrel of oil can come down. That won't change anything here. Fertilizer and depreciation. The middle class, even, people like you all who went to... Your parents won't be able to send children to international schools, and there are so many expenses. So, yeah. I don't see a difference between the two of them in terms of looking at the betterment of society. There are few exceptions, very few exceptions, and that's why they are exceptional, because there are very few of them.
So they work in hand.
Mostly business entrepreneurs. Look at the big entrepreneurs today. Look at the corruption. Look at the tender fixing. One time they were considered entrepreneurs. I don't want to mention names. They own big companies now. So what has happened to them? They may have started very nicely. They may have started poor, but once you get power and money, you're not the same person. Then you're all about
exploiting
more and more and accumulation of wealth, greed. And it comes at a heavy cost to society. Heavy cost to society. So I worry. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
You know, just to so when we were even enabled, you know, our tea staff were outsourced because that was the corporate policy of Hema, but we always paid them more. And whenever there's a bonus, we paid them bonus. How many companies will do that? How many companies do that?
Very low.
And these people come and they clean your toilets, they serve you. Like I'm telling someone, you know, our fellows, when they can't have their tea, like me today, if I can't have your tea at 10 o'clock, they are like as though they have not had their shot of drugs. So they are sustaining them, no? They are not giving them tea, they are sustaining their energy.
Yeah.
But look at how they are treated. Look at, you go to any office and see how the women, thin, poor, and they're sustaining all these bloody people, no? And bringing tea for the bosses and all that. What do they even ask them how many children you have?
Yeah.
So when although they were outsourced, when we went on a trip abroad, we took them. We take them. Our office parties, they're there. And we always ask them, how are you doing? How are you faring? I would go and talk to them. That's leadership. The least of your employees, you must be concerned about them. And talk to them. How is it going? How is it going? How are you faring? That's all it takes.
Maybe that's one reason for you to be this successful.
So success is, that's what I said,
Yeah,
serving someone.
yes,
you know,
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. This the next one is about brain draining and all that. Now, Sri Lanka has produced a vast amount of very incredibly talented people,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But many of these great minds, they tend to leave the country. Do you think the problem is an opportunity,
Yes.
leadership, policy, or is it something deeper? And what role can entrepreneurs play in changing this particular story?
Yes, great question. It's a combination of all those factors. Lack of opportunity, because the government in Sri Lanka is not spending on large projects. In any developed country, the government spends. That's why these idiots, some economists think, oh, government should not be involved in anything. All nonsense. The key sectors are run by government. Even in Singapore, all the big companies are run by Temasek, which is government owned. So government projects are not there. Big, exciting projects where you can build new engineers. What is the great AI projects? What is the investment government is making on AI? Zero. Or very little. So, number one, opportunity. Number two, leadership. Because people don't want to work for, I won't use the A word, but I won't, So, they want to work for good, smart people who are bright, even if they are not socially conscious. They're bright people, they're smart people. I want to work under him. I want to learn something. So leadership is one. And then they must appreciate a young person's questioning you, challenging you. They don't like that. So the smarter people say, screw this, I'm going. So that's two. Thirdly, what was the third point?
Policy.
Policy. Absolutely. For working in government sector, the policy does not allow you to flourish. How can you, for example, you have a new invention in agriculture. But if you can't use it because the red tape takes so long, you say, to hell with this, I'm going. That is why there are few people, entrepreneurs, who have started great companies and they're recruiting and retaining good talent. One of them, I know them very well, the WSO too. Right? I mean, Sanjeev has just left. He has just stepped down as CEO.
Yeah.
The company started. I mean, look at it's a Sri Lankan company. Look at the number of top people who have worked for them. So they retain them. And they place them abroad sometimes. That's okay. But most of them work here. And mind you, Sanjay, his political views on Gaza, my God, very revolutionary. And surprising it's an American company. Local but registered.
Yes.
For him to come out and say the things. And during the Aragalaya, he was on the barricades. With me, we were together. Because we are the IT professionals for the people. He had an organization, sadly, that has died now. Because our IT professionals also, once the crisis ended, they went back to look at their own lives. They couldn't care about the people of the country, not all, some of them. So he was there. So can you imagine? So people would like to work for him. But there are so few. There are a few other companies that have started now. Another guy who worked with us, we worked together. They've started a company called Ensinga, Ifinity. They are new companies and they are retaining talent. Most of them would have gone. So there are few who are doing that, in my sector at least, but very little. So we are losing doctors, lecturers. Who is going to build our next generation if we lose our best people? So we are not in a very good place.
Yeah.
But thankfully there are people like this
Yes.
who will, give us some hope, because we must have hope, no?
Yeah, definitely.
You can't be hopeless. Yeah.
And with that, we have come to the end of today's episode. Peter, thank you so much for being here, for amidst your busy schedule. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Venuri, and it was a real pleasure talking to you all, and to you particularly. I enjoyed the exchange. But I must say that this event that you all have organized, the final year students of IIT has organized, Cutting Edge. The name is exciting.
Yes.
The topic that they picked today was very relevant, storytelling. I don't often hear this. And the effort that the students have put in, final year students, for them to do something like this, so that others learn from it, their own students learn, and the juniors learn. So I want to pay a special tribute to your group, and for starting off a venture like this, and I hope you all succeed. And I also hope that all of you and those who are listening will succeed in your own careers. And my final word is, however much you are successful financially or by wealth, don't forget, after all, if you have 3 seconds left in life to think about, 30 seconds left before we close our eyes for the final time, you're not going to think about this podcast or, the wealth that you accumulated, the cars that you have and all that. But supposing in the 30 seconds you can think, you know what, I lived at a very difficult time and I made some small contribution towards the betterment of society, then, only then can you say my life was well lived and my life was worth it. So I ask all of you, think of your own success, but think beyond yourself, your family. Think of society and do something like what you are doing today. Even that's a social work for the betterment of society. So with that, I wish you all the best, and thank you very much for having me today.